Over the years I've fished some really spooky lakes, including the legendary Lake Reduta in Romania, the former world record carp lake, and home of the infamous Church Bay, where open gravestones and human bones litter the banks. In this month's vlog, however, I'm closer to home, fishing Hook Lake in Hertfordshire, which is said to be one of the most haunted carp lakes in England. It's late September and I've got a few days ahead of me to try and catch a carp, but to begin with, we'll catch up with the fishery manager, Richard Stangroom, to find out what this place is all about. So then, Rich, how you doing? You all right?
Good,
yeah. You've been telling me about this place now for
Finally
about
got you down.
30 years, mate.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I've heard so much stuff about this lake. It's a wonderful looking venue, mate. So, how many years have you been actually fishing down here?
I've been fishing here just under 40 years, 1985, I think, 84.
Yeah. And you're now running the lake as well.
Now
aren't you?
running the lake, yeah, I've been running it since 1996, so
Right.
yeah.
Okay, so tell me about the spirits down here, these ghostly stories and encounters, because I think when I first met you, you told me about this lake having some kind of weird atmosphere to it. So,
I mean, you know, when I first started fishing here, I was young, and obviously the ghost stories, they become legendary, and everyone, you know, the older members here would always sit you down in the dark and tell you the ghost story. But I think the main one, the one that seems to have, if you want to say any truth behind it, really is the one about the boy.
Right.
So this lake, I believe, was actually dug. It's an estate lake. I believe it was actually dug to use the clay to build the bricks for a big old mansion house that's no longer there.
Yeah.
But they had I think it was about a 4 or 5 year old son, and evidently he slept one night, came down to the lake while sleepwalking, and drowned, and they found him the next day. So the legend is that the boy is the ghost of the lake.
Right.
And it doesn't, evidently, he's not in the form of a boy, he's in the form of like a white mist in the shape of a person.
Have you seen him?
I'll be honest with you, I haven't. I haven't. So many people have,
Yeah.
whether or not, you know, you believe that or not, but yeah, it's certainly...
It's definitely got that feel about it, you know, the crows in the trees now squawking and that. It feels very atmospheric down here. I can't wait to get into the fishing. So
I'd say it's the spookiest lake I've ever fished.
Yeah.
You know, if it wasn't for my passion for fishing here when I was younger, there's no way I'd have put up with it at night.
Yeah.
No way.
It sounds like the sort of venue that would be very loud at night. When you hear any rustling in the bushes behind you, you're going to know about it.
Even a toad or a blackbird just walking through the leaves, just when you're laying in your bivvy, it's a person.
Yeah.
It's the boy.
your mind start wandering away. Okay, so on to the fishing then, mate. It's roughly about 2 acres in size by the looks of it. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
How many swims you got?
We have 15 swims. There's a few more that we've left to overgrow, really. So there was more swims, but we sort of use those more as stalking swims, really.
Okay, yeah. How many anglers at any one time?
We have a syndicate of 25.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we've run it as a syndicate for those 30 odd years. We reduced it down from 35 to 25, not because it was getting busy, just because we wanted a minimum amount of people on here.
Yeah.
But it's never busy. You know, you can come down here any weekend, you might get somewhere between 0 and 4 people fishing here.
Okay.
Weekdays, there's possibly one person will do a quick overnighter. Very quiet.
Yeah. And what's the stock like?
The stock, there's around about 55 fish. There was an original stock here when we took over, and we put some more fish in there that we bought from Les Bamford, which are the Leany strain. Yeah. And then over the years we've topped those up with some fish that we bought off of Cemex Angling, which were Sutton at Hone Horseshoe strain, and more recently some VS fish, some of those really big scaly fish.
So it's got some real English sort of feel to it, hasn't it?
It really has, yeah. And they darken up. I mean, some of the old originals here, they're really black, really dark, beautiful looking fish.
What's the biggest fish?
Biggest fish is around about 35, 36 pounds.
It's good fish, mate.
Yeah, and it's a good grower, that one, actually. We're hoping that's going to be, fingers crossed, the first one that touches the 40 pound mark. And there's a good lot of backup fish, so there's probably about another 5 or 6 30s in here, and I say an enormous amount, probably about another 20, 25 that are in the 25 plus that that are pushing through. And because of the way that we manage it, we do take fishery advice. We are getting a steady growth rate. It's not an excessive growth rate, but it's between £1 and £3 a year per fish. So
And things are changing down here, aren't they, this year? Or next year? This year? Is it this year?
That's
You're
right.
opening it up to
For the first time
exclusive
ever.
lake bookings, aren't you?
Yeah,
So-
first time ever we're going to try some exclusive lake bookings. It won't be for the whole season. Starts on the 1st of May, goes through till the end of September, which are effectively probably some of the better months on here anyway. And we're going to be doing 3 and 4 day sessions, maximum of 6 anglers, but you buy the lake exclusively.
Okay, yeah, so lots of stories to tell when it opens up. Then I could imagine if people start seeing and hearing this, the buoy or the other little spirits that are around the lake, because I noticed there's also a plaque in the corner over there as well.
There's a plaque in the corner which is in memory of some of the anglers that were on here back in the day. There's 3 up there.
Yeah.
Graham, Steve and Rambo. His name was Rambo, hence the name.
Swim over there.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's lots of stories and lots of history to this lake, isn't there? So interesting times ahead, mate. I'm looking forward to getting into the fishing.
Yeah.
So it's
finally got you down. I'm looking forward to seeing what you can teach me.
Oh, I don't know about that. There's nothing I can teach you about this lake, mate. I know you fished here for a long time, and it's going to be a case of me picking up what info I can off you. There's fish down here now.
Yeah,
as well,
I think it was a pike, but
was it?
I'm pretty certain it was. Yeah.
Okay, let's get myself set up anyway, and hopefully we'll be seeing a fish or two on the bank.
Good luck.
Cheers, mate. It's been a bit of a long day for me today because I've been up in the Lake District with the missus, and then I had to go home and get my gear, and then I had to drive all the way down here. So I'm glad to finally get the rods out. So what I'm going to do now is just talk you through what I'm doing. There's only 2 of us on the lake, and that's myself and Richard, who throughout this film I might refer to as Stan. So there's not 3 of us on the lake. That's his nickname, which is Stan Groom. So there's just 2 of us, and basically Richard's got the shallow end to the left, and I've got the deeper water. And I've basically set up in a swim which is called the boathouse. And the reason it's called the boathouse is directly opposite here. You can just see an old concrete structure that's in the water, and that's the old boathouse. And the tactic is to fish quite tight to that margin where it's nice and hard. So that's my left hand rod. Now my other 2 rods, I've just got one swim down to me right, which isn't too far away, and the right hand rod, that's fished really close into the margin down to the right, where I have seen a group of fish whilst they were setting up, and they're really close in, and it's only about a couple of feet deep there, and it's nice and hard on the bottom. So that's where my right hand rod's gone. And my middle rod, that's basically gone out towards the middle area of the lake, which is the deepest area on this lake. Now you can just see that the water's down quite a lot at the moment. It's at least 2 or 3 feet down, and it doesn't matter whether I'm fishing a big water or a small water. I always think when the water level's down, there's always a chance that there's going to be some fish in the deepest part of the lake, especially on a shallow lake like this where the deepest area is only about 6 or 7 feet. So that's out in the middle. Now all 3 rods, I've got on pretty much the same tactic. I'm just fishing for 1 bite at a time. The lake is fishing pretty tough at the moment, and each rod I've just got a handful of boilies over and some crumb as well. So there you go, there's all 3 rods. I'm not really sure something's going to happen tonight, but we've got a few days ahead of me to see how we get on. And all I'm interested in doing now is getting the kettle on, getting a brew, and just chilling out, because it's been a really long day for me, and I couldn't think of a better place to chill out at, because this lake is absolutely beautiful. It really is. It's almost deathly silent, and if the rumours are true about all of these spirits and ghosts on this lake, then it's going to be a very interesting night. So let's sign off now and see how we get on. Well, the time is now 7:25, and the sun has just gone down, and everything's gone dark in the forest. There's a mega atmosphere on this place. Probably one of the best atmospheres on a lake that I've ever fished in England. It's definitely got that spooky feel about it. Anyway, let's hope I catch a carp tonight, and I don't see the boy or the man. Ah!
lovely. That's a nice fish. It's funny, I don't really know the names of all the fish like all the rest of the guys do. So, a couple of hours down here stalking on a Monday afternoon led to this one. Don't know the weight yet. It's with the sling, it's 30 pounds and 13 ounces, so I'm going to say roughly 3 pounds less than that, but we're going to get it back and hopefully catch it when it's a bit bigger.
Tell you what, other than the odd aeroplane that goes over and the sound of the wildlife, it's definitely silent down here. There's no ripple on the surface at all. The conditions aren't really favourable at all for carp fishing at the moment. It reminds me a lot of Redmere Pool, which is only similar sort of size, got similar sort of colour to the water as well. It's the same kind of size as Spitfire Pool as well over in Norfolk, apart from there's no weed in here. And those lakes, as soon as you step foot on the lake, the carp know you're there, and that's basically what's happening here at the moment. It's a lovely venue to be down at, especially on your own. If Stan's just gone off to work, so I'm down here on my own. Typical small water carping, as they say. And that's what I kind of expected. You know, I've still got a couple of days left of the trip, so all is not lost yet. But yeah, it's definitely a strange old place, this venue. It's gone chilly now, and it's certainly a very atmospheric place after hours on this lake. Unique atmosphere as well. I don't know whether that's because of all the rumours to do with ghosts, but you know, I'm not really sure whether I believe in things like that because I've never actually seen one. But I have fished some pretty hairy places in my career, including the infamous Church Bay at Lake Reduta, which was very, very special. Fishing amongst all of those bones and all of those open gravestones was pretty unique back in the late 1990s, and obviously on a venue like that, which was fished by lots of anglers from around Europe, there was loads of stories going around about that particular area of the lake, because those bones were just something that had never been seen on a carp lake ever. And you know, that was a special venue, very unique venue, very haunting venue as well in many respects. But this venue, you know, I think this is definitely in the same sort of category, because I can remember the rumours about the boy, the figure, or whatever you want to call it, going around this lake, being circulated amongst lots of old school carp anglers, and obviously those kind of stories still happen today. Now, I've never seen anything whilst I've been on the banks, and I've fished quite a lot of different venues, but I have had some weird things happen, and probably the most standout one involves my old mate Rob Hughes, and he's probably better telling this story than me. But I'll recall it for you because I've known Rob for many years now. First met him in 1990, and when I first got to know him, I was asking him about places that he'd fished, and he was from Oswestry over on the Welsh border. I was from Wolverhampton, and I started telling him about the waters that I'd fished. And Rob told me about this one lake that he used to fish near Oswestry, and I think it was called the Dell. And this particular water, he'd fished there for quite a few years, but on one night, this time of the year, autumn time, he was on the lake on his own, as is always the case. It was a very sort of misty night, and he'd set himself up after work fishing. During the hours of darkness, he had a screaming take, and as soon as he struck into the fish, this apparition appeared just above him, of this screaming face, this guy going, "Ah!" And he was like shaking his head, wasn't really sure what he'd seen, and started wafting the tip of the rod through it. And eventually the fish fell off, and as soon as the fish fell off, this apparition disappeared. And obviously Rob was really spooked by it, and he packed up there and then and never fished a night on the lake again. And obviously after you told me that story, I was a little bit like, yeah, you know, whatever. But then this one time we were fishing on Pool Hall about a year later, Pool Hall in Wolverhampton, and it was about 8 o'clock in the evening, and then these two guys came along and set up next to us, and they were similar sort of age, 22, 23, and we got chatting about where we fished in the local area, similar sort of conversation to what I'd had with Rob before. And one of them turned around and said, I used to fish over in Oswestry on a place called, I think it was called the Dell, this lake, that Rob had recalled that story. And then he proceeded to say exactly the same story that had happened to Rob, that he'd had this really weird encounter on the lake and seen this apparition. And as soon as Rob heard the story, he got up and walked off. And the lad turned around to me and he said, what's up with him? You know, because it was quite rude the way he walked off. And I said, I don't think he's walked off out of rudeness, he's walked off because you've kind of spooked him. And I then told him exactly what had happened with Rob, that the same story, the same encounter had happened to him. So, you know, that was a really weird moment, because you've got two guys telling a very similar story about this apparition that they've seen on this lake. You never know, maybe in the morning I'll be telling you something else, because this place is definitely up there. It's certainly got that ghostly feel about it. I tell you what, that is not a bad day for late September. Must be about 19-20 degrees at the moment, nice and sunny. And one other thing I've noticed today as well is that the situation on the lake's changed, because I've started to see isolated groups of fish in different areas of the lake. Up until now, all the fish have been in one area down to that right hand margin where they've been coming in really close. But today they're definitely showing in different areas. I've seen some at the shallows, I've seen some on the far margin as well, and out in the middle. So is this when things are about to change? We are due to get a bit of a change in the weather, and get these rods reeled in a minute and stick a bare hook on one of them, get me loaf of bread, and see if we can get something from stalking. Because the one thing I've learned whilst I've been here is that the fish definitely like it in the margins, really close in, and that's where a lot of the harder gravelly type spots are in this lake. Whereas out in the middle you've got lots of soft silt, you've got lots of fallen leaves, a lot of black detritus as well, so not the kind of areas where you'd expect the fish to feed. I could end up getting something from close in, so yeah, all is not lost yet. Definitely got a chance, especially in conditions like this. Whew. Got one. Awesome. Oh. Hey. I've been meaning to come down to this lake for many years now, so I'm really happy that I've been here. It's probably one of the most atmospheric carp waters I've fished in England, so a massive thanks to Richard for the invite. If you're interested in fishing this wonderful lake, then check out the details below. It really won't disappoint.